Okay, here we go. Second time around. Let's do it. Oh, thank you for being here. Thank you for clicking on my channel. Um, if you like true crime, conspiracies, sometimes makeup, ladies, this was Amazon. It's supposed to be a dress. I'm 6 foot tall, so it's a shirt. Like 30 bucks. Ain't nobody got money over here. Paparazzi jewelry, and I do my own nails. So don't look and say, oh, she's trying to show off something. I'm trying to show off shit. Well, apparently so, but still. Um, but thank you for clicking on the channel. Sometimes I do makeup, most of the time I don't. Um, I got Jeffrey Epstein coming up. I've already done JFK. And I feel like that's one I've somewhat come to conclusion on. If you've not seen it, go watch it, because the theory that actually fits is not some big conspiracy, but I mean, it could be, but still, um, it's actually quite simple. It usually is. Um, if you like the content that you do see, then there's not really going to be too much content on this one. It's just going to be me telling you a story, because this is the true crime. I want to do a good conspiracy. I got a book on conspiracies and serial killers and all this good stuff, so I need to get them out and get some things going. But like, subscribe, comment. Um, that really does help my channel out a lot. Today we're going to be talking about Betty and Dawn. All of a sudden I had a freaking brain fart. I don't know what their last Broderick's, I think. I don't know why all of a sudden I couldn't remember his name or his last name. But him and good old Betty had a time. I'm also going to do one. This is actually the one I thought that I was going to do, but it turns out it wasn't. Anyway, I got another one I want to do tomorrow. That's crazy as shit, crazier than this one. But Dan always said that he was the guy that would have to end up killing himself or die to get away from her. He said that he also felt empty and dead inside, and that he was so miserable that he couldn't go on another day. And a lot of it was her fault, because she was old, fat, ugly, boring, and stupid. And, when he just kept saying he wasn't having fun anymore in his life. First of all, fun is where you make it. Here it is, 12:51 in the morning, and I'm sitting here looking like I'm going out to the club or some shit. I'm getting ready to wash all this stuff off, put on my pajamas, and go to bed. Anyway, um, he said he wasn't having fun anymore. And so I guess if you're fat and ugly and boring and stupid, you try to look younger, you try to fix the wrinkles, try to get them off your face. Um, I do sell a cream that fixes it, like, seriously. It's called what the hell is it called? I'll demonstrate tomorrow. But she went and done all this stuff. She had a tooth that was like a tiny millimeter crooked, so she got it fixed. She done all this stuff. She said she wanted to be absolutely perfect for him, and all these things. And um everybody else said that she loved money, she worshiped money, and that was her main goal in life. And she loved it, and she was very materialistic person. And I don't know. I would say that she did. Wait till I get how much alimony he was getting. This is like a 1980 something. Um, but if I've got a crooked tooth, I'm not gonna get it fixed. I mean, I got crooked teeth, but I got it taller than every other tooth in my head. But so let's go ahead and just jump into the case today and get started with this shit. Betty Broderick, everybody said she had an anger problem, so her and her husband, she said that her husband had betrayed her, and that's pretty much when she lost it. And she wrote a book. I bought it. I keep buying these books from crazy people. But she wrote a book, called it Telling on Myself. Yes, literally telling on myself. She wrote this book when she was in jail, but well, she wrote it when she was in jail. Real quick, I got a lot of information from Jasmine Noor. Oh my God, I love her. Hear me out. But she was born, Betty was born Elizabeth Beskila on November, I don't know, I just fucked that up. November 7th, 1947. She grew up in a wealthy family that lived in the suburbs of New York. And she was third of 5 children of her family, a very strict Roman Catholic family. She went to Catholic school. According to her, she was raised to be a good wife, have children, clean, cook, and do all the very traditional upbringing things that women did. Betty met Don back in 1965. They would later, obviously get married. She met him right before she was 18, at a college party. She says that she barely gave him a second look. In the book, she insults him like so many ways. She talks about he's not her type, he was too short. She was tall, she was used to dating athletes, and that she come from a good Catholic family, a strict family, and they had some ideals and family values, and he didn't, but like everybody else. So they ended up getting married on April 1969 at this elaborate wedding. They had it at Immaculate Conception Church. I don't even know what to think about that. I mean, I feel dirty when I say that. What? I don't know. Tell me your thoughts on that name of that church. But they had it at the Immaculate Conception Church, which was a famous Catholic church that was very close to where Betty was raised, and that's where they had their wedding. They went on their honeymoon, and according to Betty, this is where she got like her first red flag. And at least would appreciate the red flag. But was on the honeymoon. She felt like that after he sealed the deal, and they were married, that he wanted her to do all the duties of cleaning the house, laundry, and all that stuff, which I thought that I just noticed this. I thought that the good Catholic wife did all that stuff. So what is she complaining about now? I'm not understanding. I hate moving my hair over here because my earring fell out and it won't stay in. So I'm trying to hide it. I guess I shouldn't now that I told you. But anyway, um, They had rented a home. This home was rented while they were on their honeymoon. And when they come back, they had a maid and housekeepers, nannies, all that. And he sent all of them packing. He said from now on, the responsibilities of the house and everything to go with it was Betty's. And now, like I said, she was raised with a nanny and a maid and housekeepers. And so she was never accustomed to doing that and was shocked that he would have to do, that she would have to do that now. And that's what I was saying. Like, I thought she wanted to be a good wife or whatever she's talking about. Um, at this moment, Betty realized that, quote, bliss, her life turned from bliss to disaster. And she said that the moment she threatened to leave Dan, but she says that she found out that she was pregnant as soon as they got back from the honeymoon. Um, so she felt trapped. That's the shoe on the other foot, isn't it? Therefore, she decided to stick out the marriage. She was pregnant with her eldest daughter, Kim, and Kim would later testify against her in court. And she would later testify against her in court, and we'll get back to that. But in January 1970, when Kim Broderick was born, she was born a month early, and then they were so unprepared for this child that she actually spent a few of the early months sleeping in a dresser drawer. Dan was initially in medical school, which, I mean, it could be worse. That's, where did they sleep? Put her there, but still. Um, Dan initially was in medical school, and then he was going to be a doctor, and he decided, screw this. He's like me. I like Dan. So he decided to go get a law degree and combine the two to become a medical malpractice lawyer. And Betty agreed to that, and she thought that it was a very good idea. I bet she did. So she became the breadwinner for a little while she was pregnant, so he could complete his studies. This is the fact that something she seemed to grow, to resent, like she, throw it up in his face and everything. Um, a long time, for a long time, she resented it and found herself pregnant again. And she gave birth to her second daughter, Lee, in 1973. And it was around this time that Dan graduated and he had gotten a job with a law firm down in San Diego. And the whole family moved to the suburbs called La Jolla in San Diego, so that they could start working at a prestigious law firm. Once they moved to La Jolla, the Brodericks become a fixture of the local social scene. Everybody knew the Brodericks. Dan became a local celebrity. He had this prestigious medical degree from Cornell combined with a Harvard law degree. Soon Dan became $1 million a year attorney. During this time, they also had two more kids, these two sons. The two sons were named Rhett and Dan Jr. So at this point, one would think that Betty would be very happy with this lavish lifestyle, but was she? She was not. Happy because that lavish lifestyle that she was used to, not only did she have it again, she actually had more than they were before. They were more wealthy, and definitely more wealthy than her parents. And when you get that something in your head and you just parents were when they were growing up. But according to her eldest daughter, Kim was not happy. And no, Kim said that the mom wasn't happy, Betty, wasn't happy. Quote, Mom was always kind of a weird mom, would get mad at Dad all the time. Once Mom picked up the stereo and threw it at him and locked him out. Constantly, he'd come around to my window and whisper, Kim, let me in, Kim. Also, and she says that her mother was abusive towards her and her sister, that her mother would constantly throw things at them, frozen food, regularly, all the time. She also said that her sister Lee would get spankings, and she would tell the mom that they don't hurt. And she said, okay, well, next time you're bad, I'll hit you with the floss water. And I got whooped with the floss water, and this situation happened, but there's a point where you stop, you know. But Lee was out in the yard, and Mom went after her with the floss water, and the little screen thing came off of it, and she kept hitting her with hitting Lee with the wire, and she left big welts all over her legs. I'd grab Danny and hide in the closet. Then Dan, not Junior, but Betty's husband Dan, his brother Larry Broderick, he spoke to interviewers, and he said that Betty was constantly threatening to leave him, constantly verbally abusing him. And he got to the point where Dan just kind of retreated into a shell, and he's more focused on his work. He would come home and go into his room, and he would just kind of throw out his self in the work that he had to do at the law firm. Kim agreed with her Uncle Larry, and she said she also quoted as saying she was always getting dressed up at the last minute, saying, I'm not going anywhere, or I'm not going. And she was always telling me that she was going to divorce my dad. She'd say, who are you going to live with? When I was leaving your dad to divorce him, or when I'm going to be leaving him, who you going to go with? And she would always tell her dad, if you leave, or if you leave, take me with you, and then just everything seemed to get worse, especially when Dan decided to hire a young woman by the name of Linda Coquina. No, I don't know how to say that last name. It said now Linda was 21. Oh shit. When he hired Linda, he had been to college. She had been to college or hadn't been to college, and she didn't even know how to type. But he still hired her as a legal assistant. Ooh, some shit's going down. But and Betty lost her shit when she found out this. She was suspicious of why he would hire this young woman with no experience to be his assistant unless there was something else going on. A month after Dan hired Linda, Betty and Dan went on vacation. It was during the vacation, Betty says that she noticed he was being very distant and confronted him and asked if he was having an affair with Linda. He denied the affair, but he also told her in that moment that he didn't love her anymore. In fact, he said he hated her, but instead of just leaving him in that moment, she felt like she wanted to win him back, so her suspicions would be confirmed on the 39th, her 39th birthday. I think that's Dan's 39th birthday. She'll be in for a rude awakening. She decided to go to his office with gifts and balloons and stuff to surprise him for his birthday. But when she arrived at the office, she found the remnants of a party. There was a bottle of champagne sitting around. The bottle was empty. There was 2 glasses, cakes, balloons, everything, the whole shebang. Shebang. Oh my God, I killed myself. You'll see. But Dan wasn't there, neither was Linda, the receptionist. The other receptionist said that I could imagine this old, fat, like hunched over lady, and then like this 21-year-old girl. But the other receptionist said they hadn't been there most of the day, and she didn't know when they would be back. So Betty lost it. She decided to go home and in front of the kids, by the way, get all of his clothes to kick him out, obviously. But she got them all together, put them on the back, and set them on fire. And then, because she's psycho, she went in and cooked his favorite meal for his birthday. Imagine the inner conflict there. You're gonna burn all of his shit, but yet you want to make him his favorite meal. Can you imagine the feeling of hating and loving someone so much that you're burning their clothes and on their birthday while simultaneously cooking them their favorite roast? She says that when Dad came home, she gave him his checkbook, or when Dan came home, she gave him his checkbook and told him to leave. You're out of here. But Dan refused to leave and was still very much against the divorce, the Catholic stuff. And that, like I said, the Catholics, they usually frown upon divorce. But I think that would be more Betty. That I don't know. I think he would too, but it's like, come on, at what point? Them old timers though, they would stick around through some shit, not me. You hired 21-year-old secretaries, your ass is gonna pay alimony. But on September 1984, it was in this month that Dan discovered a crack in the foundation of their home. It required major repairs. So they had to move out to a rental while, it was getting fixed. And Betty thinks that with all this elaborate plan is to get her out of the house for a few months so that he can have that house. They got a rental home, and Dan left the rental home and moved into the home with the crack in it before it was repaired. She's psycho, but she's right. That's what's crazy. Dan moved back into the house and would not leave. Betty started dropping off the children at the house one by one. First, she started with her eldest daughter, Kim, who is 15. And when this happened, it's quoted that it was on Easter. I asked her to drive my friend home and she lost it. And she packed Kim's bags and told her, says no one was home. She would have to wait and she waited hours, waited at the doorstep for her dad to come home. So she dropped Kim off at the father's house. And then a few days later, Betty did the same thing to Danny Jr. She just left him at the doorstep and went, and a half hour later, she dropped off Lee. And then the last one of the 4 kids. She dropped them off at the doorstep. And this one was really, really bad, according to Kim. Quote, they were hysterical, holding on to her and screaming and crying hard. Don't leave us here. It was awful. She said, I'm leaving. Your dad's not going to get away with this. For a few months after that, she dropped the kids off. She went back to the house and trashed the house, broke mirrors, spray painted the walls. She trashed the bathroom, graffitied the fireplace, burned the curtains. And then a few months after Dan confessed to his affair with Linda, she filed a divorce after 16 years of marriage. And the divorce would be known as the most vicious divorce in San Diego's history. It was a 5-year divorce, and it was Broadwick versus Broadwick. You can even look it up. There's articles and shit on it. It's crazy. But it was a big deal. And Dan, being a lawyer, right away, he knew all the moves, to things to do in court, and then knew the judges and knew other lawyers. So Betty felt like that she wasn't going to get a fair shake. She claimed that no lawyer wanted to work with her because they knew she was his ex-wife and that the judges were biased, and that she could get a fair trial in San Diego a month after the whole thing happened to Dan. And Betty returned to the house again. I think she just wanted to try to get a change of venue. I don't know what she meant by that. But she returned to the house again twice. The first time she returned to the house, she took a cream pie and she smeared it all over everything, the house, everything. 4 days later, she come back and she threw bottles of wine through the windows of the house, and Dan got a temporary restraining order on her, which she violated immediately. She came in with the umbrella and smashed the windows, broke the toaster. So then in November, Dan filed criminal contempt charges against Betty, and things from there just got worse because in November 1986, Dan sold the house. According to Betty, he sold it from under her. Sorry, my throat's getting bad. So she felt like that she didn't have a say in the selling of it. So what did Betty do when she found out that he had sold the house? She took her car and ran into the front door of the house while the children, that's the fucked up part, while the children were still there home listening to her daughter testify, because the daughters testified against her. I mean, she tried to, in court, she tried to get one of them's attention. I think it was Lee, tried to get Lee's attention, to like tell her, don't say nothing, or I don't know. I know she even looks kind of crazy. Like that person you don't think's crazy, but's crazy. But her daughter testified in court about the counts of rage and fury that didn't stop there. Kim said her mother once smeared cake on her father's bed and scrolled obscenities with lipstick on the mirror in the house. And another time, Betty drove into the front of his Marston Hills home. The car came through the house. The car came through the house and hit the door. It sounded like a chainsaw, and I ran out to the back door. And there's court documents that state that when they opened the door and saw Betty had crashed into the house, that they tried to pull her out, and that's when they saw that she had a big butcher knife under the seat of the car. So they tried to restrain her until the cops got there, and Dan had her checked into a mental facility where she should have stayed for 3 days. By this time, Dan had sole custody of the kids, and him and Linda were openly dating, which you can imagine just enthused Betty. She didn't take that so well. So what did she do? She started calling and leaving profane, obscene messages on the answering machine. So many messages that some of these messages will be played in court. Very important things to ask you. Some of them said, "You're making me mad. I'll kill you. This is the last time." Compared to other messages playing during cross-examination, prosecutor Carrie Wells asked Broadwick if she ever there was one where she put her son up to Colin, and she said she didn't do it, but she had her 7-year-old son Rhett call for his father, and then he said oh, she's talking about that she didn't have the son call, but for years she heard that somebody was saying that she had put him up to Colin. And said it dared him to make the call. And so as a punishment to these calls, Dan, who was paying her, it was actually, I thought they said 64. I could have swore they said 64. I'll double check and put it in the comments. But paying her $16,000 a month in alimony. $16,000. But every time she would call and aggravate him, like he would charge her money, he would take it off. That's why I think it was $64,000. But like $100 for every obscene word that she used, $250 for every time that she set foot on his property, $500 for every time that she come in a house, $1,000 for every time she took one of the children without permission. I mean, this is just insane. First of all, even if it's 16,000, shut up, take your money and go raise your kids. It's crazy. It's like, oh my God, just shut up. You're getting what you wanted to start with. But there was one time where she had harassed him so much that there was a couple $1,000s negative. Instead of him having to pay her, it was a couple $1,000s negative. And it doesn't really say how they handled that, but I figure he probably just let it go. I know that she was claiming in court that Dan and Linda, who were tormenting her, claims that Dan was telling her that she was ugly and fat and old and stupid, and they both mocked her. She says that she got a letter in the mail and she believes that it came from Linda, had a picture of Linda and Dan happily together, and that said, "Eat your heart out." But soon after that, there was advertisement sent to Linda. I mean, she thinks from Linda for wrinkle cream and weight loss product in the mail. And she feels like that Linda was taunting her and mocking her. The divorce was finalized in 1989. First of all, I don't know. I mean, unless he's just like cruel and evil. I mean, I have met people like that, but I mean, think about it. Now he's got this 21-year-old girlfriend. He's seeing his kids, or he's got his kids. He's making enough money to be paying the hell out of some alimony. Um, I don't see him saying that. I mean, obviously, I don't have no idea. There's no footage of him. Um, well, I haven't looked, but still, I don't see him saying, "Oh, you're fat, you're stupid, you're this." I see him trying to have as least contact as possible, especially since when they lived together, he didn't. Um, and once their divorce was finalized, 1989, the same year, Dan and Linda got married. Um, and they were worried for their safety so much that he actually wore a bulletproof vest to his wedding. You can't make this shit up. And that way nobody would die. I mean, that's insane. That's insane. And then on the fateful day, it was 2 days before Betty's 42nd birthday. And the scenes that I've seen, she makes a big deal about 42, 42. I'm getting ready to be 46 next month. And it's all the same. It's all the same. You just heard a little more. But 42nd birthday, and let me set the scene. It's the wee hours of Sunday morning, pitch black, and Betty had been tossing and turning all night. She can't sleep. Why she says, because 2 days ago she got some court documents which claims was a threat from Dan, and that he was going to file the criminal contempt charges against. So what she did was decide she would take her 38 revolver put it in her purse, and she got in her car in the dark of the night and drove over to Dan's. And she snuck in his home. She shows up at his house, obviously, and she lets herself in with Kim's key. This is why I'm telling you got to buy extra like things to push over on your doors and stuff, because you never know. We were sitting here, I'll tell you this real quick. We were sitting here one day, and we were sitting again. We have guns like everywhere. People are like, "Oh, who has a gun when they're sitting at home doing nothing?" Or we do. And all of a sudden, our front door opens, and old boy's got a key, and he's looking for somebody else's apartment. So we're calling a landlord, like, "Hey, somebody else give this guy a key, and he can open our door with it." And anyway, it was a bunch of shit. Old boy could have got killed. Good thing I was watching TV. But she used Kim's key. She tiptoes into the master bedroom with her 38 in her purse. She says that she was standing there, and they were both in bed asleep, lying down. And Linda opened her eyes, and she hadn't even adjusted to the darkness. And she let off 5 shots, according to Betty. Quote, real fast, no hesitation at all. One bullet hit beside the table, another one hit the wall, 3 bullets hit Dan and Linda. One pierced Linda's neck and lodged in her brain, another one hit in her chest, and a third one hit Dan's back, fracturing his rib and tearing through his right lung, according to Betty. When Dan got shot, he fell over. Who would have thought it? But he fell over onto the floor near the telephone, and pretty much his last words to her was, okay, okay, you got me, I'm dead. I mean, that's just insane, I swear. It's like, you got me, I'm dead. Um, she said he didn't have no pain, there was no blood, and that she was gonna take off, but she seen the phone and she thought, oh my God, before I get to the bottom of the stairs, he will have the number called, 911. So she rips the phone out of the wall, and so she runs, gets in her car, goes home, all this shit. Um, Betty's daughter Lee, the second child, testified that her mother had called her immediately after the shooting, and this is what she said before. 19-year-old Lee Broderick received a call in the early mornings. What the hell? That don't even make sense. He called her immediately after the shooting. And Lee Broderick is 19. She received a call from her mother that morning on November 5th, the day Daniel Broderick and his new wife Linda were shot to death alone. She called her and she said that there was trouble and that she needed my help. And I asked why. And she said that she had shot my father and that she had shot Linda. And can you tell me exactly what happened? Um, exactly what word she used whenever she said, I shot your dad. She said, I shot this. I think there was cuss words. And Betty was throwing up and she still had the gun. Said she wanted to kill herself. And she called another friend. And then later that day, she ended up turning herself into the police department. And she got arrested the day after. The medical examiner came out and said that Linda died instantly. But Dan, the one she said didn't suffer, said he died a slow and painful death because he would have been breathing the blood running into his lungs. And as he desperately would be gasping for air. It said it took several minutes for him to die. Um, Betty was quoted as saying, it always makes me mad when they call them victims. Me and my kids were the victims. They are two dead people, but there were five victims. Betty took the stand in her own defense. She claimed a battered woman defense and a psychological emotional attack on her and her children. And she claimed that Dan was abusive towards her children, which the children testified was not true. Um, Betty remembers the day, November 5th of last year. This was not last year. Um, where she finally had it. And she was just standing in her kitchen saying, Jesus Christ, I'm turning 42 years old. Um, I've been put through this BS for 35 years of my life and it's been wasted. Um, I was just a mess. Everything just came down on me. I couldn't stand it another minute. And that's when I wrote on this stuff. I don't know if that's probably thought on this stuff. Um, I guess maybe he was telling people she was a child molester and crazy and unfit mother. So I threw all his clothes in the backyard and put gasoline on them. And I listed listed them. And I wanted him to come home for I wanted him to come home for the home cooked roast that I had made him for his birthday. And then he had sold the joint property from beneath her, the home record, when he wouldn't discuss the matter. She drove her car into the house. Um, I had nobody to talk to. I just wanted to talk to Dan. And she done something at the store. What did she? I say I read this. It dictates it, and then so that's why I can't figure out some of these words. When Broderick showed the prosecutor the scars, oh, she's tried to say that she cut her wrist and nobody could see the scars of it. Not saying that she didn't, but nobody could see the scars of it. And she had to show the jewelry too, like get off the stand and show the jewelry. Um, the scars from what Broderick said was a suicide attempt over Dan. The prosecutor said she couldn't see the scars, so the judge suggested to show the jewelry. Um, she was saying that she used the razor and demonstrated. And the prosecutor also said that Broderick Betty had made claims that she couldn't take care of their children because she didn't get enough money. And she said she produced clothing bills on December 8th, 1987 for $1,000 check at Nordstrom's. And she said, "Is this your check?" Yes. On the 15th, there was a $1,000 check at Neiman Marcus. That was her check. Um, and then once they added up just the clothing bills for the kids, it was $37,000 for 1 year of clothes for the kids. Um, it says Betty was supposed to visit him in the apartment, and then the daughter was testifying about this. I called her and she said that now that half an hour later, as she was down the street by SeaWorld, and I told her I hate her guts. You make me sick. Um, and then it says your father and I want to come over and see you. I called back and said, did I do, why did she's asking her why she even had her to begin with. Um, I'm wondering if that's after she killed him. I really didn't dig deep into this case. Kim was testifying. Her mother, Betty, was increasingly agitated, gesturing and talking animated. Oh my God, I can't talk tonight. Um, you know, wildly to her attorney and scribbling hurried notes. At one point, when the judge was conferring with the attorneys, Betty tried to get the attention of her daughter, Kim. It was Kim. Her attention, and she said, "Hey, Kim." She whispered, "Kim is." And Kim was staring like straight ahead. She wasn't looking over or nothing. Um, she wasn't paying any attention, but she kept trying to like whisper, "Hey Kim," every time I hear Kim, I think of Kardashian. But she was trying to get her attention. I don't know if she was wanting to tell her to be quiet, don't say nothing. I don't know what the deal was. So um says I'm not sure if she was with him like when she was married. Oh my god, I forgot about this. Um Betty had um like a boyfriend on the side. After all this shit, she had a boyfriend on the side. And he was like a bombshell, they said. And he was 36. And I just I was like shocked when I heard this. I was. I think his name was Bradley. And 36. He was tall with sandy hair. You know, she likes some tall ones. He's a businessman and an avid sailor who calls himself Betty's boyfriend, Brad. And Brad and Betty ate dinner together and slept together frequently for years, In fact, warning of the murder, she was in the bed with Brad. The morning of the murder, she was in bed with Brad, and she left. And that's when she went and in an interview, Betty, she denied sleeping with Brad, wasn't sexual, wanted to know why he slept over at her house then. And Betty says, quote, "It's like having a dog, but he was house trained." Damn, Betty. So that trial ended in a damn, Betty. So that trial ended in a hung jury. So they declared a mistrial, and then they had a second one, and they found her guilty and convicted her 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of firearm in the commission of a felony. And she's sentenced to 32 years to life in prison. Um, she's had several parole hearings: 2010, 2011, 2017, and of course everyone was denied. And she won't be eligible for parole till January 2032, which at that point she'll be 84 years old. I just want to say thank y'all. Thank y'all very much for watching. Please subscribe, comment, like. Um, and if you are a returning subscriber, good to see you again. Good to see you again. And I appreciate you guys more than you'll know. I'm gonna go ahead and go. This is kind of shitty because I didn't investigate it more, but I had to throw something out there. But thank you. Um, please leave suggestions in the comments if you want to see something. I'm working on also right now a Jared video. So I don't know when I'll have it done, but also Jeffrey Epstein and all of them. So all the good shit. But I will talk to you later. Bye. Bye, everyone.